The evening air was warm as I made my way into the chic downtown Tampa art gallery. The setting sun had painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, a soft glow that seemed to blend with the artistic energy of the night. Normally, I would have hesitated before accepting an invitation to an event like this. Social gatherings with designers, architects, and creatives weren't exactly my comfort zone. But tonight, I was curious. Patrick had a way of making things sound intriguing, and I decided to see what the night would offer. The gallery was alive with the hum of voices, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Avant-garde pieces lined the walls, bold abstracts, twisted sculptures, and installations that begged for interpretation. It was the kind of space that stirred something in me, my fingers itching to capture the interplay of art and human interaction. My camera rested lightly in my hand, an instinctive companion, even though tonight wasn't meant for photography. As I moved through the crowd, taking in the art and the energy, I found myself appreciating the way Patrick let me roam freely. He had introduced me to a few people, but there was no pressure to stick by his side, no expectations that I'd engage in endless small talk. Aquarius thrived on independence, and I never felt confined with Patrick. He understood that I needed space, especially in social settings like this. I wasn't one to perform, to play a role, or conform to others' expectations. Wandering through the gallery, I observed the people around me. Some couples moved in synchrony, glued to each other, always within arm's reach, checking in with every glance and touch. That was never how I saw relationships. Aquarius love wasn't about constant proximity or possession. Patrick and I had something different, a kind of partnership that allowed us to exist side by side, without the need to be entangled in each other's every moment. I lingered by a sculpture, a striking piece of twisted metal and glass that reflected light in fractured patterns. It caught my eye, not just for its aesthetic, but for what it represented. Movement, change, the beauty of things not being perfect or whole. It felt like a reflection of my own relationship with Patrick. We weren't bound by conventional rules or traditional expectations. We moved through life together, but we both had our own space to breathe, to grow. As I continued to explore the gallery, I found myself reflecting on us. Ours was an unconventional love, the kind that didn't rely on constant affirmation or grand gestures. We didn't need to cling to each other to feel connected. In fact, it was the space between us that made our bond stronger. Patrick understood that my independence wasn't a sign of distance, but a core part of who I was. That understanding, that freedom, was what made us work. I watched other couples, the ones constantly leaning into each other, their heads close, whispering secrets, holding hands like lifelines. I wondered if that was what people expected from us. But as I glanced back at the art, I knew that wasn't me. I didn't need to prove my love through constant physical closeness or whispered words. My connection with Patrick ran deeper than that, and it didn't need to follow anyone else's definition of what a relationship should look like. When the night started winding down, I found myself by a kinetic sculpture, a mesmerizing piece that spun slowly in the air, casting shifting shadows across the gallery walls. The motion was calming, hypnotic in its simplicity. It felt like a visual representation of our relationship, constantly moving, evolving, but never in a rush, never static. As we left the gallery and stepped into the cool night air, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The stars had begun to dot the sky, faint pinpricks of light in the deepening blue. The quiet between us was comfortable, unforced. Aquarians didn't need to fill every moment with conversation. Silence for me was a space to think, to reflect, and Patrick had always respected that about me. As we drove back through the softly lit streets, my thoughts wandered again to what we had. Ours wasn't a love story defined by convention. I didn't need traditional markers of romance, didn't crave constant affirmation or emotional intensity. What I needed was freedom. The freedom to be myself, to pursue my passions, and to trust that our connection didn't depend on constant proximity. It was a love built on mutual respect, one where we gave each other room to grow and explore, individually and together. When we finally pulled up to my apartment, the quiet of the night wrapped around us like a familiar embrace. I felt a deep sense of contentment. Our relationship didn't need to fit into neat boxes, and that was what made it feel so right. We weren't following a script or adhering to anyone else's rules. We were writing our own story, one that allowed us both to be exactly who we were. As I stepped out of the car and waved goodbye, I realized that what we had wasn't just unconventional. It was the perfect reflection of what I needed. Love, for me, wasn't about losing myself in someone else. It was about finding a partner who understood that independence wasn't a threat but a strength, who knew that the best relationships are the ones that give you the freedom to be fully yourself. Walking up to my apartment, I felt a quiet, steady sense of peace. I didn't need grand gestures, constant attention, or traditional romance. What I needed was exactly what we had: space to grow, room to breathe, and a connection built on trust and freedom. In Patrick, I had found that balance, and I knew that whatever the future held, we'd continue to navigate it together on our own terms.